Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:34 in the afternoon. This is the Meridian Transportation Commission. Welcome. There's a meeting of Monday, August the 2nd. The first item on the agenda is a roll call. Miranda, would you please?
Commissioner Ballard, Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Lancaster, Chair Steed,
Here.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner LeClaire, Commissioner Leckie,
Here.
our ex officio commissioners Luke Kavanagh, Sean Martin,
Here.
Tony Tisdale, R.D. Huntley,
Here.
Alyssa Taysom, Justin Price. Thank you, Mr. Wasdall. That is all.
Okay, welcome all. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Does anyone have any proposed changes to the agenda? I do not. Staff does not.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Have a motion to adopt the agenda. Second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Next item is the approval of the minutes of June 7, 2021. Comments, questions, suggestions, and let's see if we can get those done, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt the meeting minutes from the June meeting.
Second.
Motion, we have a second from Mr. Ballard. I heard him first, since he's fairly close to me. Must be the slow Zoom runs. At any rate, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The minutes of June 7 are approved. We have a new ex officio commissioner to introduce.
Mr. R.D. Huntley is our new ex officio from the West Ada School District. I'll let him introduce himself.
How you doing? I am R.D. Huntley. I have been with transportation for over 5 years and very familiar with school bus industry. And I'm here to help however I can.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. Okay, old business. The South Meridian Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan update from Edison Batista.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will proceed to share my screen here.
I think you guys are going.
And I'll wait on your confirmation that you guys can see my screen.
You can see your screen.
Perfect, thank you. Well, good afternoon, Commission. My name is Edison Bautista. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here today. I'm an ACAC Senior Transportation Planner. In today's presentation, I wanted to provide an update on the South Meridian Neighborhood Bike and Pedestrian Plan and in the work done so far. In this, just as a reminder, the South Meridian planning area is shown in this slide. The light polygon delineating the planning area, and the plan generally follows the city limits south of I-84. The neighborhood plans aim to achieve the following goals: identify a mapping of the biking and walking destinations pertaining to the planning areas. Through a robust public outreach, identify the needs of connectivity, transit, transit, biking, and walking facilities to gather a general consensus of the community's recommendations. Develop a plan that communicates existing condition and needs, as well as convey proposal of projects to both the public and ACHD. Through analysis, technical review, and public outreach, define, prioritize, and rank projects that address the needs identified. Additionally, we will identify existing gaps in the sidewalk and bicycle network. Through this process, we aim to brand the neighborhood plans to ensure recognition throughout the community of these planning efforts and ACHD continued commitment to bike and pedestrian improvements. As mentioned, we do, through the neighborhood planning process, we do a robust public outreach that begins all the way back from the month of March. And with this March public outreach, we kick it off with a school, what we call a school outreach. Through this school outreach, we survey students in the different schools in the planning area regarding their biking and walking experience from and to school. From this effort, with 300 students participate in the survey, and 25 provided comments in an interactive map. In the survey, we answer questions like places where kids like to visit in their neighborhoods, what keeps them from walking and biking, what make it easier for them to ride or walk to and from school, and finally, we did an exercise with them to identify projects that they would like to recommend in the South Meridian planning area. Now, during the month of April, we released an interactive map, which I hope everyone was able to participate, to collect public input on locations where the community would like to see bike and pedestrian improvements. From this effort, we received a total of 88 comments specific to a location, 30 comments in reference to posted comments, and 40 comments outside the planning area. The breakdown of these comments are: for bike related, we received 13 comments. For pedestrian projects, we received 16 comments. For projects that were related to bike and pedestrian related, 53 comments, and in general comments, 6 comments. We compile all these comments and use them to identify bike and pedestrian projects for the South Meridian Neighborhood Plan project list. This project list was later complemented with existing plans, studies, and priorities, like the ACHD Roadways to Bikeway Master Plan, the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, ITD plans and studies, and the city priorities. A total of 96 projects were identified for this neighborhood plan, with 46 being community program projects and 50 major roadway projects. These major roadway projects consisted mainly on the projects located in the arterial network. Now, with this draft project list ready, we're coming back out to the public to make sure we got the project list right, if we miss anything, and to identify the community top priorities. As part of your packet, I shared with the commission a copy of the printable version of the online story map. The story map can be found online at the ACHD website. In the online story map, we share with the public the plans overview, the feedback collected so far, the proposed projects, and the next steps. The proposed projects are separated into 4 maps: the bike projects, the pedestrian project, the crossing projects, and the arterial projects. And this public outreach is currently underway with its closure later within this week on August, I believe, August 4th, by the end of August 4th. In this slide, I wanted to present an update to the project schedule. Currently, we're in the public involvement phase of the project, as you can see in the screen. As next steps, we're planning to begin the plan preparation and preparation for the plan's adoption. With this, I conclude my presentation and it's time for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that and appreciate you keeping us up to date.
Thank you.
We'll expect to see you at one of our next coming meetings. Thank you. Okay, speaking of updates, Ms. Carson, you have a transportation projects update for us.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So as per usual, the transportation updates are in bold in your packet. On page 30 of your packet, the draft 2026 integrated 5-year work plan through ACHD is now open for comment through August 20th. That is the work plan that the Transportation Commission had prioritized those projects and sent to City Council to sign off on, and that list is included in the packet. If you have any comments, you're welcome to send those to me or go on to the website and make comments directly to ACHD. Linder Overland to Franklin, the task force for that overpass continues forward, and a letter was sent in July to ITD board requesting this project be included in the draft ITIP for the FY 2022-2028. On page 31, the 10-mile Amity intersection has reached substantial completion. So this is the last time that project will be on the list. Moving down the page, the Locust Grove Victory to Overland, there is a note in here that the design has changed to include those setback crossings that we looked at and that Commissioner Lancaster presented to City Council. Since this update was put together and sent out to you, ACHD has since said that they are pausing on that design and will follow up. So we don't know if the design will include those setbacks or not. So just take this update with a grain of salt. It is already out of date, even though it's only 2 days old. So we did send, the City Council sent a letter to ACHD in July after the presentation that Commissioner Lancaster gave, requesting a meeting with ACHD Commission to review those setback crossings as well as anything else that is relevant to City ACHD Commission partnership. That meeting has been set for September 20th at 5:30 p.m. It will be here at the city. Also, in the most recent Locust Grove Victory to Overland design, there was not a pedestrian refuge island set for the hawk signal crossing. So there will be a hawk signal crossing between Mastiff and Puffin there on Locust Grove. City staff did request a pedestrian refuge island, especially being that that's right across the street from the high school, and several students walk there. And then there's also a lot of erratic driving behaviors is a nice way to put it, I think, when you have that many teenagers behind the wheel of vehicles. So we did request that raised crossing, or I'm sorry, not a raised crossing, but that pedestrian refuge island. That's not in the current design. Hopefully with the design being paused and rethought, the new design will include that, and I'll keep the commission up to date on that. The next project there on page 32 is also delayed, the Victory Locust Grove Roundabout project. We don't know when that will pick back up with ACHD. The 10-mile road Victory to Overland project also includes those setback crossings, back 20 feet, 25 feet. We don't know where the stop bars on that fall yet, whether they'll be in front of the crossing or behind the crossing. So just a project to keep an eye on. And the the Eagle Road Lake Hazel to Amity project does have landscaped center medians in the design right now. That's something that will be new to the city of Meridian, doing those landscaped center medians. So it's something that does need to go in front of City Council before we make any kind of cost commitment to that. So that will be going up to City Council on August 10th to see if we want to commit funds to having those landscaped center medians. On page 33, the Amity Locust Grove interim signal that project has been terminated. So that was going to just be an interim signal project without any pedestrian or bike facilities. And they've decided to terminate the interim plan and wait until FY 24-25 to do a full overhaul of the intersection. Moving on to the ITD projects on page 34. All 4 lanes of Linder to Meridian on Chinden are now open, and the Locust Grove to Meridian on Chinder property acquisition is in the negotiation phase. So construction is anticipated to start next year. The Highway 16 extension is in phase 2 and is expected to take 2 to 3 years, starting in FY22. On Meridian Road, ITD did complete those interim improvements that I had mentioned to you last month, in June, the interim improvements to change the turning movements around Calderwood. So if you go out there and you see those center medians, that's been set up now to avoid some of those left turn incidents that we were seeing. And lastly, on page 36, the Ada County Transportation Action Plan is currently open for comments until August 16th. You can go onto that link there in your packet and complete comments in their survey, or you're welcome to send those comments to me as well, as long as we receive them before the 16th, and we will share those with Ada County. And at this point, I can stand for any questions.
Questions from Miranda on the update?
Miranda, or Chairman, I have a question for Miranda.
Yes, Mr. Hopkins.
So why did they scrap the idea on the Locust Grove Amity interim intersection? It was only because of pedestrians?
No, I think they scrapped it because it was just an interim and they realized that they could get, I don't want to speak for ACHD, but my understanding is they scrapped it because they realized they could do a larger project in just a few years. So the interim project was set to last about 10 years was the estimated time. So in this new plan, they have a full overhaul construction being done in 3 to 4 years. So I think that's why they decided to just pause on the interim. I think it's better that they paused on the interim, me just interjecting my opinion here, because it didn't include those pedestrian facilities and it's so close to a school. So hopefully this new overhaul with doing the full project at once will include those.
Do you go through that intersection much?
Do I go through it much?
Yeah,
Not anymore. When I worked for the school district, I went through it frequently.
yeah.
Going out to Merrimack.
It's probably more of a mess now that Eagle Road and Amity is under construction, but because you have Eagle Road shut down, you have the roundabout shut down. So everybody goes through that intersection. It's a mess. Just curious.
Anyone else? Someone remind me who the chair of our 5-year work plan subcommittee is.
Commissioner Smith, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be me. Sorry.
I'm wondering, have y'all met? Do you plan to meet? I've got to scroll back in the report, but they're looking for start having some input on that here fairly quickly.
Yeah, we the initial plan was essentially to look over the existing priorities, and when the new priorities start rolling out in the next couple months, we're going to start meeting more frequently. We can alter that if the chair has a request for us, or if there's something, if you'd like us to meet sooner than that kind of timeline that we were operating on, open to any guidance.
So the current call for comments is on the transportation priorities as the Transportation Commission and City Council already sent them. So this is just another opportunity to comment again on the same list that was already done. This isn't next year's request list.
Okay, and no one at this moment sees any reason to do further comment on the one they've got.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Mr. Hopkins.
to be fair to Commissioner Smith, this is the first time we've seen priorities come out. We were waiting for a list or an idea of where we were going, and so
So,
I'm
Mr.
gonna
Chair,
guess that's why.
the one thing that I would say comments might be useful for that group to do is that a few of the items that were lower down on the list were listed as to be determined in the request. So the city has, and most of them are holdovers from previous years. The city had requested some improvements, but without specificity as to what improvements we were requesting. So ACHD is now looking for some more specificity on those. So I'm not sure if that's something that subcommittee would want to take up. Looking at those items on page 39 of your packet, I believe it's items 59 through 68 were all to be determined in our request list.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hopkins.
So Miranda, does the city have a priority list on those?
The city's priority list is reflected based on what the Transportation Commission and City Council set.
Okay.
So that's our priority list. And some of these to be determined items likely have actual descriptions, but it looks like they were held over for a couple of years. And sometimes in the shuffle, it looks like the descriptions might have gotten dropped out at some point when they were sent to ACHD.
Let me suggest that Subcommittee Chairman Smith, at your opportunity, give Ms. Carson a call and visit with the topic. There may not be any need for y'all to do anything at this time. On the other hand, you may see something you wish to get involved in. So just to kind of make sure we know where we are and we don't let something fall through the cracks. Okay. Anything else on the projects update from anyone?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So there's a surprising amount of churn in some of these projects, particularly even since Miranda printed this or typed it and printed it. I guess a question for Miranda and maybe even for ACHD is, is this indicative of something systemic where, there's projects throughout the 5-year work plan that are being affected throughout Ada County Highway District, or is this, a project by project basis? For instance, the city has requested a hold on a couple of projects, and it appears that ACHD is granting that, but other projects like the interim intersection that's been withdrawn or whatnot. Is this somewhat indicative of a bigger systemic topic? And I guess I ask this, we put a fair amount of effort into the city prioritization of projects, and ACHD does as well in approving this plan. And if they're not following it, I guess I'm interested in why.
So I can say, again, I don't want to speak for ACHD, but the line there on page 30 was verbatim from the ACHD letter that we received asking us to comment that the programmed projects are likely to change based on commission direction on revenue and the ACHD budget adoption hearing. So it sounds like right now, a lot of it has to do with the fiscal impacts of the projects and where they're at on their budget cycle. So I'm not sure what their reasoning for moving those projects is, other than to say the indication we've received was just this line about the budget. We do have that joint meeting set though, so that's something we could ask. Or
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Miranda. When you made the comment about things changed since she had written this, I mentioned to her right before the meeting that the interim traffic signal poles and lights are all up as of this afternoon at Black Cat and Ustick. They're not on yet, but they erected them today. So things are moving and changing. It's never dull driving around Meridian. I'll guarantee you, what you found yesterday, you will not find today. Okay, next item. Sergeant Frazier, good to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Steed. It's good to be here with you. The biggest thing I have to share since we met last is we did have the discussion with City Council about the OHV ATV UTV ordinance. Couple things to preface that. We were slated for about a 10-minute discussion. I think it ended up being a 25 or 30-minute discussion. And then we all know that HB 129 went into effect July 1. We met with City Council before that, knowing that HB 129 would go into effect. So it kind of changed the angle of the discussion a little bit. But the big question remains the same nonetheless, is what does the city want to do about this as a whole? And the City Council was remarkably split. Several council members appeared to agree with the ordinance as proposed, and one or more of them were adamantly opposed to it. What they opted to do was have Ms. Kane rewrite the draft to eliminate verbiage regarding arterial and collector streets. The council proposed to allow OHVs on roadways where the speed limit is 25 miles an hour or less. So Ms. Kane redrafted the ordinance, and the City Council is intending to hold a public hearing on that, with that change from arterial collector roads to the verbiage of 25 miles an hour or less. It was an interesting discussion. It was a lot of fun. As of now, with HB 129, you know, the vehicles are largely legally able to be driven just about anywhere. And we still have the same issues with golf carts. So I think the City Council realizes there's several pieces to this that ultimately they'll have to address or come up with a solution for, but we don't quite know what that will be yet.
Well, if they acted in any way in 25 minutes, they're a lot faster than we were. But it doesn't necessarily mean they were any better at it. Could the members get sent a copy of the new draft, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And a reminder of the date and time of the public hearing. Anything else, Sergeant?
I don't think so, unless anybody has any questions.
Questions for the sergeant? Yes, sir, Mr. Butler.
Not on the agenda, but any follow-up on the cell phone law that's now into full force and effect? I think last time you were here, they're still in a warning phase, but any update? And then I know I'm catching you cold, and if you don't have notes, we can wait to hear till next time.
Yeah, I understand the question. I remember talking about that when we were in the warning phase. That's gone into an enforcement phase. It is something we take enforcement action on quite frequently. We see a whole lot more dash mounted phone holders than we ever used to see. And we also see a whole lot more people driving down the road staring at their lap. And we can't see their phone, but you know that's probably what they're doing, but it's not enough to pull them over most of the time. And that law is also, it's interesting. So under that law, you can drive down the road holding your cell phone, looking at a map or GPS directions, as long as it's already typed in, as long as you're not manipulating the phone or typing in directions or anything like that. You can hold your phone in your hand and stare at it following a map. That's somewhat troubling. And to me, that's not much different than driving down the road, holding your phone to your ear, talking on it. It's a distraction. But nonetheless, if we're trying to identify people in violation of that law, it's not just as simple as, well, their phone's in their hand, so they're violating the law. So we've had to learn a couple things about that and adapt the way we take enforcement action and the questions we ask and things of that nature.
Thank you.
Do you, if I may follow up on that, Sergeant, do you see any change coming, maybe through the legislature to clear it up or clean it up a little bit, or have you heard anything?
I wouldn't expect there to be any change.
Okay.
It's surprising to me at the state level that we ended up with the law that we do have. It's a step in the right direction, but as with any statute or law, I think things get overlooked and maybe certain people who wrote the law or voted to approve the law didn't intend for some of the consequences to still exist.
It's happened before. Okay. Next item is the Chinden West project update.
This one over. Other month.
Okay. You put this on next month's agenda, please, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I'm the one that asked for this. I don't intend to let it just disappear. It's not as big a deal as it was when I first started seeing what was going on out there. I may want to catch the sergeant after the meeting and ask him a couple of questions about it. Okay, thank you very much. The compass draft, Ms. Tisdale. Welcome.
To be back. So Miranda's going to drive for me. She's got my slides. So up and we'll just have a lot of next in the presentation. Oh, I can drive. Right.
We have it.
I have it. So thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This item is about the Communities in Motion 2042.0 amendments, draft fiscal year 2022 to 2028 regional transportation improvement program and the air quality conformity. We're currently out for public comment right now. So we will provide a little bit of information. I know we have some new members on this committee, and so we'll talk a little bit about what Compass does, talk about the Communities in Motion amendment, the draft transportation improvement program, and also air quality conformity and the timeline. So Compass is the forum for regional collaboration in Southwest Idaho that helps maintain a healthy, economically vibrant region, offering people choices in how we live, work, play, and travel. I promise I will not read all of these. Through general terms of what Compass is. Our mission is that we conduct regional planning and facilitate coordination across the region, and we're focused on transportation-related topics. So what do? We plan, implement, provide technical expertise, and facilitate, but today we're going to focus in on the planning and implementation, or the long-range transportation plan, and then actually getting those projects funded. So Communities in Motion 2042.0 is our current long-range transportation plan. It is available on the Compass website, and we are currently on a kind of parallel track doing the next update, which will be Communities in Motion 2050. Today, we're talking about Communities in Motion 2042.0. It is the second plan that has that 2040 horizon year. It's the 2.0 on that. The regional long-range transportation plan has to look out at least 20 years into the future and plans for that transportation system that will meet the needs of the folks that will live in the Treasure Valley at that time. It is for Ada and Canyon counties. We're looking at both counties together as a region, and we forecast the growth out, and it's about over 1 million people that we expect by 2040. It is a multimodal transportation system that includes bicycle, pedestrian, automobile, freight, specific to automobile, and also public transportation. It does have to be fiscally constrained. So the projects that are included as funded in this plan have to show reasonable expectation that those projects will actually get funded. And then we also have a lot of public involvement that goes into the plan and also amendments for the plan. So why the amendment? We include capital projects on the interstate, state highways, principal arterials, and also any intersection that includes those specific roadways. And then we have all projects that include federal funds as well. So some of those projects are locally funded, some are federally funded, and some are even funded by developers. any change that we have that we're coming in, we have new money coming in, they have to be consistent with what's shown as funded in the Regional Long Range Transportation Plan. And as you've been hearing, we have new funding that came available through the legislature. And as well, some of our members are updating their capital improvement plans. And so as those changes are taking place, in order for those projects to move forward, we have to amend the Long Range Transportation Plan. That enables work to begin on those projects. So on the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, as I stated, we are planning for Ada and Canyon counties, but we really focus in for some of this federal funding on the urbanized areas, the Nampa urbanized area and the Boise urbanized area. The Regional Long Range Transportation Plan is looking at about 7 years worth of funding. The feds really only look at the first 4 years, but we include 7 years so that we have a good plan going into those 4 years of a funding program. We work very closely with our member agencies, which are the cities, the counties, the highway districts, as well as the state in developing this program. And we also coordinate very closely with Valley Regional Transit and ITD's public transportation. Our website has information to review all of the information. Our compassidaho.org has a link on our Find It Fast page. But this is what it will take you to. It will take you to the Transportation Improvement Program where you can find more information. And in that top section where it says Understanding the TIP, there are several documents that help you understand the information you're looking at. We include a whole lot of details in the information that we provide. This is what the detail report looks like. And I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to it. So as you go through your review, you know what you're looking at. Many times a project may be called something different. So in this case, State Highway 16, most people know what that one is. But if you're talking about US 2026, which some people call Chinden, or State Highway 44, some people call State, Eagle Road, State Highway 55, it may be called something different. So if you're looking for a project, just know that some of those roads that you're used to calling one thing may actually be a state highway. This includes all projects by alphabetical order by the title of the project. They're very easy to search using the Control F function, so that if you've got a specific roadway or area that you're looking at, they're easy to find. Has as good a description as we can get in a very short period of time or placeholder there. We have a map or a graphic that helps explain. TIP achievement provides information on our performance measures. It's how the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, helps achieve those performance measure targets. One thing to point out on here is all the amounts are listed in thousands of dollars. There's just not room to put all the zeros. So we truncate the dollars into thousands of dollars. So this is one of the projects that we'll be talking about in just a little bit. But some of these projects also have multiple funding sources, and those are shown this way. Many of these projects are very expensive, and so it's impossible to fully fund a project with just one program. And so many times they at least have some additional local funding towards the project. And anyway, I just wanted to show you what they would look like if you're reviewing these projects. We have several different ways to look at it. We have a basic project list. What we call it in-house is the bare bones report. So this is just the very basic information about all these projects. If you're just looking to see if a project is there, you can get more information on the detail list. And then this is probably the most used report that we have, the major changes. If you're familiar with what we have in the TIP now, what projects are out there, this is everything that has a major change. If it's been added, removed, has a major scope change, or if construction has advanced or delayed, you will see it on this report. And so I wanted to specify the state highway capacity section because we have a lot of new projects here through the transportation tech. So these are the new funds that the legislature just passed this spring, and ITD is able to add some fairly these do have all the zeros, don't just so you know, these do have all of the full amount of funding there, but there are some big projects that are coming to our area, which is very exciting. And historically, we've had a lot of focus on maintenance, which is a good thing, keeping our current system operating as planned. We haven't had a whole lot of money for capacity, and these new TECM dollars are allowing us to add some of these new expansion projects for our growing population. We also have a tip viewer, which is a visual way to look at information as people see things differently when they look at things in different ways. I know we have a glaring error right here. There is not a project on USTIC. If you're familiar with this map, USTIC should actually be up on 2026. That's getting repaired right now. But US 2026 will be widened by 2027, at least under design for the entire corridor. That is a huge, I mean, 10 years ago, I would have never thought we would be there. So that's a big improvement. But you can click on these lines on this map and get information about each of these projects. These are only the projects that are mappable. A few projects like public transportation are much harder to map. So it's not every project, but it's all of the ones that are mainly construction. So we also have air quality conformity. And I'm not as versed on this one, so let me make sure I give you the right information. We are inviting comment on the air quality conformity. The federal government mandates that the transportation projects using federal funds are deemed to be regionally significant have to meet the budgets of a state implementation plan. And basically what that means is there were predetermined budgets of how much pollutions on certain pollutants that we could have with these new projects. And it runs through a very complicated model. And we determine if the plan that we have building these projects still meets the air quality budgets that we have. And as you can see with this table, we are meeting our budgets with the plan as proposed. So we are conforming to the rules that we have by the Environmental Protection Agency. So our timeline for this is that we are open for comments starting today, and it goes through the end of the month, and we will have an open house. We'll have a virtual open house on the 12th at 10 o'clock on our Facebook Live page, and that will also be recorded, and it'll be available for the rest of the comment period. And then on the 12th also, we will have a live open house from 3 to 6. So you're welcome to come through. Much of the information is what I'm providing here, but if you want to talk about individual projects, we will be there to talk to you. And on September 22nd, the information will be provided to our technical committee and asked to be recommended to the Compass Board, which then would go to the Compass Board on October 18th. We would expect federal approval of the full statewide program as well as our transportation improvement program and air quality conformity by December 31st. So I will stop there. We can back up and talk about any of the new projects that we have coming online, or any questions you have about the information provided.
I want to thank you for pointing out those numbers were in thousands. I couldn't figure out how you could build some of that for those numbers.
Yeah.
Questions, Ms. Teasdale?
That one's probably the most interesting part of that table, and lots of new projects.
Anyone? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Let us know if we can help answer any questions or provide guidance. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming. This is Carson. Staff had a few communications this past month, not a whole lot, but a little bit. Anything of importance? I know it's all important, but anything outstanding that needs to be talked about?
Mr. Chair, thank you. So there are, starting on page 45, are the staff communications for this past couple months. So on July 6th, Commissioner Lancaster did present the presentation to Meridian City Council. I attached that presentation for this group in this packet. After that presentation, City Council sent the letter that I had mentioned in the project update to have a joint meeting. That letter is on page 61 if any of the commissioners are interested of the contents. And that was the letter requesting a joint meeting and a pause on designs that included that setback. Moving on to page 63, the Deercrest parking that was presented to the commission. I believe it was in June. It may have been in May. The request from Mr. Barry Peters to restrict parking on Deercrest between Artis and Linder. He was not able to secure the property owner signatures that he needed to petition ACHD to make those changes. He came back and asked if he could alter his plan to have the restriction only be adjacent to his parcel. I did let him know that I wasn't a big fan of that plan, that ACHD also let him know that they weren't a big fan of that plan, and we didn't feel that the Transportation Commission would support that plan. And everyone will speak in your place, of course, but so he is going to try to get the property owners on the southern half of the street to come together and get restrictions on that portion. I did let him know that in full transparency, there were still some concerns with that, but that we would ask that he bring that information back to the Transportation Commission as a whole, if he's able to secure those signatures for the southern half of the street, to get your input on whether you're comfortable with just the southern half between Arliss and Linder. And of course, remembering that everything east of that point is also restricted. So it would be the same restrictions there. So I will bring that back to the Transportation Commission if he gets those signatures and wants to move forward.
Good.
And the last two items there in the packet is the Keeping Up with Compass update newsletter that I'll be including in these packets going forward. There's great information in there from Compass, and some of it may not be transportation oriented, but most of it is. So I'll be including that full newsletter there. You can also go online and see their newsletter. And then the Chinden West updates are there on the last page of your packet, page 65 and 66. And at this point, I can stand for any questions.
Questions for Mrs. Carson?
Mr. Chairman,
Lancaster.
I see in the correspondence received after the letter from the mayor was sent, Commissioners Goldthorpe and McKinney responded. And I see that Commissioner McKinney, who we're familiar with, asked that have representatives from Meridian City Council and Transportation Commission. So my question is, has anything been scheduled? And if so, is there a plan for, who will be participating from elected officials and from us appointed volunteers? So what are the next steps there, or do we know yet?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Lancaster, that meeting date was just set.
Okay.
So I didn't have the date when I put this letter together, but we just got that date and time. So the agenda has not been set. It will be an open meeting. So everybody on the Transportation Commission is invited to attend. As far as participation in the meeting, the agenda hasn't been set yet. So I don't want to assume that Transportation Commission will be included participating, but I would think that this group would have at least one representative invited to participate. I don't set the agenda for City Council or ACHD Commission, but I will definitely keep this group up to date. And if participation is solicited from this group, I will make sure to let the chair and commissioners know so we can determine who needs to be that party.
Would you be able to share with the city council powers that be that, just Commissioner Lancaster's question,
Yes, I can ask it what our role is. Yeah.
if you would. Any other questions, comments on the communications part of the agenda today?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
a follow-up. Mrs. Carson mentioned that the meeting has just been set up, and I don't know if I missed the date or if it's not okay to share yet, but do we have a date for that?
It is. It's 1 second. Let me look back to my notes from
September
projects
20
update. I believe it was
Yeah.
September 20th.
20 something.
September 20th at 5:30 PM. And it will be here at City Hall. I'm assuming it will be in chambers.
5:30.
at 5:30.
Please, when you get the formal notice of that, please forward it to all the commissioners.
Will do.
And also, mention to the powers that be that Commissioner Lancaster raised the question about, or if he's smiling. I'd be happy if we'd put my name on it if you want to.
I'm a Southerner. I can invite myself to stuff, so I'll get on that.
Never took a girl to a dance if you didn't ask her.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, next item. We have a problem with a meeting in September on the usual where it falls date.
So
You want to explain that one to us?
yes, Mr. Chair, our bylaws state that we will hold meetings the first Monday of every month except September. So we do not have a regular meeting in September. If the Transportation Commission wishes to hold a special meeting in September, we can do that. It could be the second week on Monday, or there's also been discussion regarding the Valley Regional Transit will be holding a ribbon cutting. So in years past, Transportation Commission has gone on a field trip at least about once a year. So we did not do that in July. And if the Transportation Commission wants to do that in September, we could look at going to that ribbon cutting. Right now it's set, I believe tentatively for September 14th at 2 p.m. I have secured us invitations to that one. I did invite us to that one. So Transportation Commission is welcome to attend that. If we choose to do that as our meeting, I'll need to make sure it's noticed as we'll have a quorum. Or the Transportation Commission, you're welcome to set a different date or cancel the September meeting. I guess it's not technically a cancellation because we don't have a regular meeting in September, but
Everybody get that? Commissioners, what are your wishes? Okay, let's cut it in half. You wish to have a special meeting such as this in September.
Mr. Chairman,
Lancaster.
I will say yes to your question. With that said, I don't yet know what my availability in September is, so I don't want to vote for something that I may not be able to participate in, but I will anticipate participating if we have a meeting.
I am unavailable all the middle part of September, so kind of on your own here, at least if you set something up. But yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we previously talked about postponing the Chinden West report to next month. So if
Postponing
the Chinden West report from ITD.
correct.
So,
You're not be able to get it if we don't hold a meeting.
right.
It is, I believe that was my issue that I brought up. It is not urgent. It won't hurt to pass. I still want them to come and talk to us. I've never heard of ITD engineers and construction people being called out so quickly to go somewhere, unless they're helping with the fire department or something, but that's what it was. So I still want to have them. If we don't have them in September, as far as I'm concerned, there's no great loss. More time to plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Miranda, is the ribbon cutting, is that for the Meridian bus service?
so I apologize. I should have put that in my project update. That's another one that's a very recent update. Right now, the Meridian bus service will likely be postponed. So we are not sure when that will launch with the Delta variant and the variants with COVID and COVID having such an impact on ridership. It's not seen as a great idea to launch a service that we know won't be at full ridership. Services like that take time to mature. And so coming in already under their Valley Regional Transit, I believe said was at 70% ridership right now. So they're already down 30% of their riders. So they're going to postpone starting that service until they are up closer to 90% of their pre-COVID ridership. So this will not be a ribbon cutting for that service. This will be a ribbon cutting for their electric vehicles. City of Meridian did have some skin in the game when it came to those electric vehicles. So, and I did ask for invitations for all of the Transportation Commission and the ex officios for that ribbon cutting.
Okay, let's settle on whether or not to hold any meeting in September, not any meeting, but a special meeting such as this. And then we'll ask the question about the ribbon cutting or a field trip. So what about a special meeting?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it doesn't seem like we have any pressing business or a reason to have a special meeting in September.
Miranda, is that how you understand it?
That would be an accurate reflection of my agenda setting right now. I don't have anything pressing for September.
All right. So with that, we will not have a special regular meeting in September. Do you wish to do a field trip?
Will there be snacks?
I have no idea. Ms. Tisdale, do y'all bring snacks? Do you wish to do an organized field trip? The invite, I'm sure, remains open to go to the ribbon cutting as individual members of the Transportation Commission.
Yes, and I will need to find out who's coming so that if we have a quorum, I'm assuming.
You can, yeah, if you got a
Notice
quorum, you
that
need
if
to
we have a
handle that.
quorum. So
So what are your wishes, council people?
I will note
Commissioners?
it's on a Tuesday, just so that I'm throwing that out there. It's not on a regular Monday. It's on September 14th right now is the tentative date.
Mr. Chairman,
Just a moment. 4th or 14th?
14th.
14th. Neither will I. That's two of us. It won't be. What are your wishes?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hopkins, please.
I move that we just keep the schedule as is and we forego. If anybody wants to go to the field trip, obviously they can hop in their truck and go.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I missed the motion in the second. Who was-
The motion was Mr. Hopkins. The second one was Mr. Lewis. Okay, so we will not formally organize to go to the ribbon cutting. Miranda, would you please send out in writing the information
I will.
and request that any transportation commissions that plan to go advise you? That way you can do a head count, and if we turn up with a quorum, you can do whatever you need to do to make it publicly notified.
Will do, Mr. Chair.
Does that take care of the question of what to do in September?
It does.
Okay. All right. We continue to have a few items on the future meeting topics. Nothing coming up in the foreseeable future on any of those, I don't believe. The next meeting to be determined, presumably it is going to be in October.
October 4th.
October 4. Put it on your calendar. Anything else from anyone? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion, have a second. Mr. Lewis, Mr. Ballard, the two I heard first because they're the closest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you one and thank you all. And we didn't formally introduce your new member of the city attorney staff, sir.
Sure, we'll take a minute now that